Welcome back. An Egyptian-Russian summit was held in Cairo on Tuesday between visiting Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. The talks focused on boosting bilateral cooperation between the two countries in all fields, as well as combating terrorism and issues of mutual concern, on top of which the situation in Syria and Libya were also discussed. The two leaders witnessed the signing of a number of cooperation agreements and a press conference was held. Putin started a landmark two-day visit on Monday aimed at boosting Moscow's relations with Cairo. The details follow.
Russian President Vladimir Putin started on Monday a two-day visit to Egypt. In his first visit in 10 years, Putin discusses with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi means of enhancing bilateral relations and boosting cooperation between Cairo and Moscow in all fields. Both presidents are also expected to discuss regional matters related to Syria, Libya, Yemen, and the Arab-Israeli conflict. It is also expected that they will sign a trade deal. Ahead of the visit, the Russian president told an interview with Al-Ahram newspaper that he is convinced that the dialogue between Russia and Egypt will continue to deepen and expand for the benefit of the peoples of the two countries, for the sake of peace and stability in the region and North Africa. Hundreds of posters were hung in the main streets around Cairo with words of welcome written in Arabic, English, and Russian. El-Sisi visited Moscow twice over the past year, first as defense minister in February, then as president in August. An arms deal worth $3.5 billion was reached between both countries last September. Putin pointed out to the history of modern diplomatic relations between the two countries that dates back to the year of 1943. He noted that this history has been colorful and eventful. He said that Russia welcomes the efforts of the Egyptian government and people aimed at strengthening the country's internal stability, improving its political system, and modernizing economy. Putin said that the Russian-Egyptian relations are developing rapidly. The volume of bilateral trade has increased significantly over the past years. In 2014, it has increased by almost half compared to the previous year and amounted to more than $4.5 billion. The Russian president said that this trend needs to be strengthened as he sees great potential for achieving results that are even more impressive. While Egypt is the major buyer of Russian wheat, which provides about 40% of grain consumed in the country, Russia imports fruits and vegetables from Egypt. Egypt is also one of the popular vacation destinations for Russian citizens. The Russian president pointed out to the possibility of excluding US dollar from settlement of accounts in the bilateral trade between the two countries. He noted that this issue is being actively discussed mainly because the tourist season will begin in Egypt soon. Eventually, settlement of accounts in national currencies will contribute to creating more favorable conditions for millions of Russian citizens who annually spend their holidays in Egypt. Besides, the measure will open up new prospects of trade and investment cooperation between the two countries, reduce its dependence on the current trends in the world markets.
And to shed more light on the issue of the visiting President Vladimir Putin to Egypt, we have with us on phone Ambassador Izzat Saad, former ambassador to Russia. Your Excellency, Ambassador Izzat. Ambassador Izzat Saad, former ambassador to Russia. Your Excellency, Ambassador Izzat. We have bad transmission. We'll be back in a short break after a while. We'll stay with us. Don't go away. Welcome back. The Ministry of Tourism announced that Russia-led Egypt's tourism is still on top of the sector, with more than 3 million tourists visiting the country in 2014. Officials said this reflects the Russian confidence in the Red Sea and South Sinai resorts. More details in the following report.
The Ministry of Tourism announced that despite the Russian currency retreat against the US dollar by the end of 2014, Russia led Egypt's tourism sector, providing 3 million tourists. Russian tourism is still on top of the sector despite the political circumstances that Egypt has experienced in the last 4 years, proving Russian tourists' confidence in Red Sea and South Sinai resorts. The Ministry of Tourism exempted Russian tourists from the $25 entrance visa charge from mid-January to April. Officials said that the ministry will keep offering incentives to partners in the Russian tourism sector during the current and next period. Chairman of Egypt Tourism Authority, Sami Mahmoud, said that the authority will work on increasing advertisement for Egyptian resorts in Eastern Europe and South and East Asia countries. Meanwhile, a fund is to be established for investment in tourism projects to revive this sector and help supply it with domestic and foreign investments. The fund aims to collect investments worth $250 million for its projects. The figure will be allocated under the supervision of authorized investment managers from the Egyptian Financial Supervisory Authority. Minister of Planning Ashraf Al-Arabi and Minister of Tourism Hisham Zazoua coordinated and agreed on launching the fund entitled Papyrus. The ministers agreed on both the operational and time frame for establishing the fund and submitting the necessary documents in preparation for submitting the projects during the March Economic Summit. Earlier this month, the Ministry of Tourism announced that 5 tourism projects will be offered at the March Economic Summit worth total investment of 5.3 billion Egyptian pounds. The projects included establishing new resorts in Hurghada, the North Coast, Marsa Alam, and a sport resort in South Safaga. Tourist numbers arriving to Egypt increased to 10 million in 2014 compared to 9.5 million tourists in 2013. Egypt's tourism income increased last year to $7.5 billion, a growth of 27% compared to the year before.
To shed more light on the Egyptian-Russian economic cooperation, we speak to journalist Zakaria Osman. Mr. Zakaria?
Hello.